Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello and welcome to the show. What's happening, my friends? Here we are in 2025. Hey, hopefully it'll be a good year, right? I don't have a crystal ball. But I'm planning on it to be a good one. Yeah, it feels like a 9-year, if you will, where we're getting to the end of a cycle. It's like which usually for me plays out with some clarity about the past and things starting to fall into place that I've been working on and leaning into. And which, that leads right into our podcast today. How to define your purpose. It's one of the most common questions. And when we start leaning into working on ourselves and this spiritual path, and we start, expanding our mind to levels that are greater than just our own little needs, we start looking at the world as a whole, as we start implementing these concepts, and some of these concepts are huge, so it takes us a while to implement them. We can implement them on different levels, but we start understanding these concepts of all of us are all one. Mother Earth is our home, and we want to have meaning and purpose in our lives. This is all part of the spiritual shift of this bubbling up within. A midlife crisis used to be a red Corvette at 45 years old, right? Like now it's a change of careers. It's a new way of living. It's and the younger generations are already coming in more open than we did, so they're just leaning into having meaning and purpose in their lives, that they actually take into consideration what the company that they're working for is doing for the world. Whereas previous generations didn't really include that so much, it was a job, now here it's like, well, I'm not going to work for some company that's out of alignment with my values. This is new. This is part of the spiritual shift. So along those lines, we're seeking more purpose in our lives. The younger generations are, because that's how they are. And then us, as we're awakening into this new way of being and ushering in this new way of life, it's important. It's an important question. So as usual, we tend to overthink things, and we don't necessarily use the guidance system that's been given to us. So what I mean by that is it's really very simple to kind of find out your purpose. And it doesn't take a lot of mental energy. It's not an intellectual pursuit. It's a heartfelt pursuit. Because we all have different purposes, we're all different. So how can our guidance system lean us in the direction of what we're doing? Because, there's a good chance that what I'm going to tell you, you're not going to sit down and 30 seconds later know what your purpose is. Some people will, some people won't. And the people who don't can get frustrated by that. Well, I still don't know. It's like, well, it's okay to not know. It's just when you start adopting a particular belief system and a particular way of looking at things, sometimes we need to give it a little bit of time to practice it and let it become part of us and kind of push out that old belief system, and then clarity comes. But we we need to stay relaxed about it. I've said this many times, spiritual terms imply non-efforting. So we can't go into a corner and think real hard, like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And then expect it to bubble up, because that's constriction energy. It's tightening. It restricts the flow of information. That's what the problem with trying so hard and making everything an intellectual pursuit. There's problems with that. Every one of you that doesn't know what your purpose is has tried that. You've tried to intellectualize it. You've tried to make sense of it. You've tried real hard to figure it out. And obviously it hasn't worked. So there's not a problem with us finding out what our purpose is. The problem is how we're going about finding what our purpose is. Most people go about it by constricting their energy and putting pressure on themselves and overwhelming themselves and looking at their past failures as if it's a guide to the future, and the past roadblocks and minimizations that have happened in the past. It's like, you can't bring that into the future to succeed. So that, because that's another thing the ego does. It's like when you start coming up with ideas, the ego tells you all the reasons why the ideas aren't going to work. And then you're just like, well, no, I can't figure it out. It's like, well, yeah, you probably had it figured out, but then you listen to your ego remind you why you're in the position that you're in now. Like your ego, like the reason that you don't know what your purpose is because you haven't leaned into the looking the right way. You haven't used your guidance system the right way. Right? So the way you think up until this point in human history is the reason why you are where you are. It's the way you're thinking, the way you're going about things that gets you a particular result. So if you would like a different result in the future, you need to go about things differently. This is one of my favorite quotes. Einstein said, you can't fix a problem with the consciousness that created it. So if you're looking at things a particular way and it's not getting you anywhere, don't defend that way of looking at it. That's what usually happens when people are stuck. And this is where the conversations sometimes end. Because like, I'm here to show new ways of looking at things. And when I'm showing people new ways of looking at things and they're telling me why the new way isn't going to work, or why their way of looking at things is better, then I know that they're not open to a new way of looking at things. So, we're not going to get anywhere. I don't mind people challenging me and saying, okay, why would this make sense? I don't, so they can get better clarity. But if you're just going to shoot down a new way of looking at things and defend the way of looking at things that got you to where you don't want to be, you're going to be in that same spot next year and 5 years from now. So don't defend the way you're looking at things. Don't allow your ego to tell you what's possible and what's not possible, because your ego isn't God. It's not in control of what's possible and what's not possible. All the successes that have happened in my life happened miraculously things that I never could have thought of falling into place. Now, was I putting work towards something to allow those things to fall into place? Yes, I was. Was I open to the possibility that it could happen? Yes, I was. So that's my part. But the actual how, that's what the powers that be fall into place. So along those lines, what we need to do is, here's I would say that the crux of the podcast, I guess, if you're looking for that little nugget, this could be that nugget, and then I'll expand on it. But the why is to serve others, to be useful to others, to be useful to society. We are all one, right? And we need to expand our mind on what that looks like, because being a plumber is being of service. It's literally called a service industry. Right? So I mean, like just about any job out there, most jobs out there, if you're doing them with the right reasons, then they are supportive of society. You are giving back. Just tell, my son was doing plumbing, and I have lots of friends that are plumbers, so I use that for an example a lot. And it's like, picture you and all your relatives and all your friends over the house for a beautiful Christmas dinner, and all of a sudden you need a plumber. Well, that person could kind of save Christmas, right? And all the people's experiences that are over your house at that particular time, depending on what the problem is. So, tell all those people, once the plumber comes over and helps them with an issue that could have wrecked the whole experience of the whole weekend or the whole couple-day event, and they're going to be very grateful for that plumber. So why? Because it enhanced their life, it enhanced their experience. So my point is like most things that you do, if you look for it, you can see how you are already a cog in the greater machine of society. And there's good and bad aspects, but pay attention to the cog that you are. Maybe you're a cog in a wheel that's not really enhancing society, and that's why you're looking for something else. Okay, fine. Look for something else. Some people are going to find out that, you know what, actually my job isn't that bad and I actually like it. I just need to change the way I look at it. I never looked at it as it being of service to others. That actually happened to me. I was a personal trainer for most of my adult life when I was younger. And then I got sober, and I woke up spiritually, and I was trying to get into new careers and all this stuff. And, fairly often people would say, why don't you get back into training, man? Get back into training. I'm like, I did that for many years. I'm just burnt out, and it's not really taking me where I want to go. And I said that to a friend of mine once, and he said, really? He's like, really? You can get burnt out with training? Like, it's like, I have a trainer and I love my trainer. I love going to see my trainer and working out. And I often think like, wow, what an amazing job to have, just to help people become better versions of themselves and reach goals that they're having difficulty reaching on their own. Like, how fulfilling that must be. And it was funny because, I had been awake spiritually for a while, for a few years. And before I was awake, when I was doing personal training, I wasn't really looking at it like that. I mean, I did a little bit here and there, but now that I was spiritual, I was like, wow, that's just so, I never really looked at it that much like that. It was just kind of a job. I enjoyed it, so I did it. But I never really looked at it from the client's perspective that clearly, So that's an example of so I ended up getting back into training because I was just miserable at these office jobs. And at least that brought some level of enjoyment. Even though I knew I wasn't going to do it forever, it was a good stepping stone to get me keep some income coming in as I started my business. So I did. And I did it with that new outlook, and it was much more enjoyable with that outlook. So sometimes changing our outlook is all we need to do. But so we, we need to lean into something greater than ourselves. This is the point. Something. So yeah, no, I'm going to stay on this for a minute. No, I'm not. I told you guys I was going to give you the snippet, so I'm going to give this snippet and then I'll expand on them a little more. So the why is our purpose: to serve others, be useful to others. And then we have to pay attention to the what. Okay, this is the nugget that I was talking about, these two things, the why and the what. So the what, we have to look at what brings us joy. What do we lose time when we're doing? What do we just get lost in? That's our what. Because that's different for everybody. And that's what can tell, because like I just said, everything can be purposeful if you look at it the right way. And if you put the right energy into it, anything can be purposeful, just about, any type of career. So that's about your why, of why you're doing what you're doing. But then there's, well, what am I going to do? Well, the what, that's our guidance system, is what brings us joy. Okay. What brings us joy? And this can be like, we overthink. Yeah, what brings you joy? I don't know. Like, you don't even finish the question and people are saying, I don't know. It's like, well, spend some time figuring that out. You don't even know what brings you joy, but you're going to design your life and live a fulfilling existence here on this planet for 100 years. But you're so out of touch. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. I mean, we're all out of touch with this because of our societal conditioning and stuff. But now here we are having this discussion to change, to move forward with a more successful and enjoyable and fulfilling life. Okay, so what brings you joy? I don't know. Okay, well, why don't you take a week? Just take a week and sit down and contemplate this. Like, make that your hobby for a week. Think about it here and there in the car, not with pressure, not trying to figure it out, because that's not fun. Like, how can you figure out what brings you joy if you're not relaxed enough to feel joy? How would you know when you find it? It's not an intellectual exercise. This is a heartfelt exercise. So, like, for me, part of why my life coaching business has been successful was because I enjoy helping people with their problems. I enjoy talking about spirituality. I enjoy empowering people. I enjoy those conversations. I lose track of time constantly. Like, I always have since I started this work. Before I even started this work, I was sponsoring people in recovery. And I mean, there were times fairly often where I was on a phone call for 3, 4, 5 hours, just talking about spirituality and recovery. And I just lost time doing it. I enjoy those conversations. They make me feel alive. Right? That's how I know that I'm supposed to be doing it. It's because I lose time doing it. So that's a good sign. And another thing I like is and I've always been like this. I like helping people accomplish things. So I don't know if that's going to make sense, but I grew up in a small town and we all knew each other. So, like, for somebody to come over and say, "Hey, I need this," or "I need to do this," or "I'm trying to accomplish this," and me go, "Oh, really? Like, I know a person that does that, and they could probably help us, and I'll give you a hand. We could probably do it." "Oh, okay." And I hop on a call. Yeah, yeah. Can we do it? Yeah, that'd be cool. And we go do it, and we accomplish whatever we're supposed to accomplish. Like, I enjoy that. Even to this day here, sometimes my neighbors or people I know will call me when they're looking for something. They'll be like, "Hey, do you know anybody that does this? Hey, we need a place to stay down by the beach. Do you know of a good place?" Like, when somebody asks me to help them with something like that, anything really, like, my first instinct is to just go do it. Like, it's effortless. It's My mind starts thinking, how can I help this person accomplish what they're trying to accomplish? Or they explain that they had a problem. So, how can I help them solve this problem? Eh, And I will just drop into that. And for me, it's hard doing anything else because, like, it's just natural. I'm like, as soon as somebody gives me a situation to try to help, my mind just drops into it and it's like, "Oh, cool." Like, if it for me, it's fun to try to figure it out and to try to help. And it's really fun when it's for other people. Like, for me, it's a little harder. With other helping others it's just joyful and it's fun. When it's for me, it's almost like it's sometimes I have to remind myself that it's not taking away from helping others. Or that I have to take care of myself. It's like it's almost annoying for me sometimes when things don't go well in my life. Like, it can be a little frustrating for me, which is part of my work. I'm working on and getting better at it. But when somebody else needs some help, oh my God, this is great. That's what's cool about living around here. I live up in the mountains in the Dominican Republic, and like, it's very rural isn't even the right word. I mean, there's nothing up here. There's So, like, sometimes I'll be driving down the mountain or back up, and you know, if I don't have my car's not filled with something for some reason or something, and I see somebody that I can give a ride down the mountain or back up or something, and I have the time to do so, which I usually do, and it's like I get excited, and then I'll just have somebody hop in the car, and this happens fairly regularly over here. And somebody will hop in a car, and I'll bring them down the mountain and drop them off in town or something. And then as I'm driving away, I'm like, "Oh, that was so cool." Like, I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do that. It just warms my heart that I could help somebody just so easily. Like, I'm just driving down the hill anyway, and I let them hop in, and then I drop them off, and it's like it's just such a joy that like I could just do that for somebody, and it probably enhanced their day. I mean, I don't know how long it'd take to walk down from my house to walk down to the town. I'm guessing at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I can get them down the hill in 10 minutes. So it's cool. I enjoy that. So that is, this is why, like, now I'm looking into philanthropic activities because I just love that. I love empowering people to better their lives. I love that. I just love doing that, you know. This is why I enjoyed, spearheading the projects. I like that. I like doing what I can and then finding other people to fill in the gaps of doing what I can't. Like we built a bathroom for the little school up here because they were going to the bathroom on a piece of plywood with a hole cut in it. So we build a little bathroom at the school, and I needed to find somebody to do the cement block and all this stuff. And my son Mateo was living up here, and he knew how to do the plumbing work, so he did the plumbing work. But I had to reach out and get some money. I don't particularly love reaching out to get money, but like the money is going right towards this external thing, this project that's for somebody else. So it's so much easier to ask, because it's like, look, these little kids are going to the bathroom on a piece of plywood with a hole cut in it. You want to give some money? And a lot of people, what's cool over here in the Dominican is like you can do these projects for such minimal amount of money. I forgot what I raised. It was probably somewhere around ballpark like $3,000 or something. And we got it done. Like, that's cool. So those people who donated $50, $20, $10, like that actually makes a big difference over here. And I think people can see that in the United States. That's why they kind of like donating over here, because like you can see tangible results for people who have so much less than you do. And it warms their heart. Giving warms everybody's heart. So it's just how we do it. We have to make sure it's done in the right way. So, this is just some of the stuff to get you to see some tangible ways that you can do this stuff. And just using me as an example, because who else am I going to use? So, that the why is this why to serve other people. Like I said, we have to expand our mind as to what that means, because it's a lot broader concept than we give it credit for. I just gave you some examples of how I do it in my life. Well, I'm a life coach, and, I do some philanthropic adventures over here in the DR because that's where I live. And other people look at that and go, oh, Glenn, you're so lucky. It's like, no, I'm not. Like, I created this. I put myself in a situation where I can be of use with what I do. I didn't trip and fall into it. I didn't start doing this work until I don't even know. Well, I mean, I got sober and woke up spiritually over 20 years ago. And then I was out doing other jobs. Now, I was doing it on the side. Like I said earlier, I was working with people in recovery and sponsoring and all that stuff. So I was feeding that side to me, but I wasn't doing it professionally for at least 6-7 years after that. So it's, last 13 years or so, I've been living as a life coach. And people think just because I'm a life coach or a spiritual advisor that, like, oh my God, that must be so fulfilling. It's fulfilling if I give it the meaning that it's fulfilling. It is not fulfilling if I don't. If I let myself get all caught up in just negativity or whatever, if I lose sight of my why and my what, then all of a sudden it becomes another task to do, just like everything does. So our why and our what is very important, especially that why. Why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? If you see what you're doing, you ever meet those, like there's people in every walk of life that do this, like, and people notice them, but they think it's something unique about them. And really, it's just unique about the way they're looking at things. You ever find that nurse that just is so kind and holds your hands when you're nervous? Or the salesperson that you can really just pick up that really wants to help you find the best solution or the best product for you? They don't care about how much money they're going to make. They just want to find what's best for you. Like that's their sole purpose, and you can feel it. And that person that drives the bus that greets everybody just in that special way, or the teacher that I saw a video of this teacher that does the cool handshakes and all this stuff with every one of their students on their way into class every day. And just like those people that make whatever they're doing special, and special for the other person, like that's what I'm talking about. That's when you have a beautiful why, because you understand why you're doing it, and then it just starts coming out as your experience. Because like if you're a teacher and you're going in there every day and you're going, oh my god, these kids are such brats, and they don't want to learn, they don't want to sit still, and you go in there with that attitude every day, it's going to be a long career. And you know what? You're not going to be shaking their hands because coming into class, because it wouldn't even occur to you to do that, because you're not looking at it from that perspective. But if you're looking at it from a perspective that like, wow, these kids, most of them don't want to be here, but they have to be. How can we make this enjoyable? And they have to learn. So like, how can we make their experience here enjoyable? Now, all of a sudden, it's not about you, it's about them. And when it's about them, then all of a sudden our mind starts expanding and we start thinking up new ways. Oh, how would they enjoy it? Well, they love those cool handshakes. What if I did a cool handshake for each one of them? That would make them feel special. Oh my God, like that. It's almost, these types of ideas come really easily when you're in the mindset to look for these ideas. When you're busy complaining about your job, you don't look for ways to enhance it because you're too focused on yourself and how much you don't like it. See, this is why the why is so important. It expands your mind, the way of looking at things, not focused on you. Self-centeredness is the one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problems in our lives. We look at, I don't have the car that I want, I don't have the house that I want, I don't have the spouse that I want, I don't have the kids that I want, I don't have the job that I want, I don't have. And no wonder you're miserable. I mean, if you look at anybody that's happy and you ask them like where their happiness comes from, it's always from outside of themselves. It's always other people. It's always their relationships. It's always helping others. It's always based on that type of thing. Like, look at some of the happiest people, the Dalai Lama, the Bishop Desmond Tutu. Like, look at they were parts of a community, uplifting and working with others and helping. And like, of course they're happy. I remember one documentary I watched, it might have been the 12, I'm not sure, but they were talking about how they went into these communities, these indigenous communities that were way out in the middle of nowhere. And at one point they were talking to the spiritual leader of this community. And they said, you guys seem so happy here. Why are you happy? And he was like, well, because we have each other. That's one of the biggest foundations of our happiness, is because we have each other. And it's just that mindset that we are one. We are together. We navigate the difficulties together. We celebrate the joys together. Like, that's a big part of it, because we are all one. And if we think we're an island, we're not. And it's just not fulfilling. You can't really get a sense of fulfillment on your own. Like, not really. I mean, if you're doing what you lose time doing, then you can feel fulfillment. That's basically the gateway to fulfillment. So I suppose you might be able to do that to some degree without really being clear that you're helping others. maybe. And you might be able to experience a little fulfillment, but there's very little fulfillment in focusing on yourself. It's like, what's the point? Oh, I get everything. Because see, what that does is that leads to being self-absorbed, and if you're self-absorbed, then you're not part of, and we all want to be part of, and so blah blah blah. So yeah, I'll get into the why a little bit more. And this type of stuff, or I'll get into the what a little bit more in a minute. This stuff is nothing new. This is all, it's all stuff that's been taught by spiritual teachers and prophets forever. It's like not cherishing a false god. That's something that I think most people get very confused about. And all it is just putting something above God, or above the concept of oneness, or above love, or above the universe, or whatever else you want to call it. Whatever you put above that causes problems, right? So like, if most people look at their lives and they look at how they spend their energy, most people that are unhappy, and most people are unhappy according to studies. So most people are spending their lives worshiping a false god. Why? Because they put most of their attention and most of their energy on a false god. What is it? It's societal standards, money, acceptance, stuff like that. Those are all false gods. If you put those above your higher power, I'll say, then it's going to cause problems. You're going to live an empty life. You're just going to. You're not going to be experiencing fulfillment. You might accomplish things and even get accolades, but they're going to be fleeting, and they're not going to mean that much, because there's no meaning to them. That's what this why does, is it attaches meaning. It's like, otherwise it's just, I made $100 million. Cool. Like, I'm happy. But now what? Well, I need to make another 100 million. Like, why? To fill that hole that didn't get filled from the first 100 million. I thought if I accomplished that, I would feel good, and I don't. Like, this is why, everybody on social media is like, oh my God, I can't believe people have billions of dollars and they're not helping the planet more. It's because it's not their goal. It's like that's not the pattern of their behavior. That's why they're not doing it. They didn't make $1 million and then 10 million and then 100 million and then $1 billion. They didn't do that most of them didn't do that by being focused on serving others. Like, that's, so then why would you think that they're suddenly going to start serving others? I mean, granted, a lot of them do have spiritual awakenings once they hit certain levels and they find out that they're not fulfilled. They start looking for ways to become fulfilled. So then they get into philanthropy and spirituality and giving back and all that stuff. But what their method of behavior is more. And then they get more, and then they feel a little good. I mean, of course, when you get more, when you think you want more and you get what you think you want, of course, there's going to be certain positive feedback within. So it's not going to be sustainable because it's empty, and you're just going to have to go do something else. But it will fill you up momentarily. So unless you look at things differently, just like people stay stuck looking at things the same way and not changing the way they look at it, that's how people just keep getting more and more and more and more and never changing. They just keep doing what they're already doing. And from an external and societal perspective, they're being told what they're doing is good. Like everybody wants to be around them. Everybody pats them on the back. Everybody tells them how wonderful they are for accomplishing more. So they're getting positive feedback on top of this little, hey, this works. And by societal standards, it looks like, hey, this works. This is why, like, I've seen people that were very successful have trouble getting sober. Not all of them, but some of them. And the ones that do have trouble getting sober, to me, a lot of the reason is because to get sober, you need to surrender your way of thinking and looking at things and allow them to change. When you're getting positive feedback from society, like you get to drive the nice cars and you have the nice house and everybody wants to be around you and you can do whatever you want, fly anywhere, and just do whatever you want in life. And then people look at you and say, your way of thinking doesn't work. It's like, huh? I don't know, man. I got a lot more than you. So it kind of seems like it is working. So it's hard for them to abandon their way of thinking because it's seemingly working on some level, and it is on a material level, but that's a false god. So there isn't fulfillment, which is why they're drinking or using drugs. It's what's feeding their addiction, right? Whereas, so like, instead of judging them for not, like, not changing their way of thinking to a more philanthropic approach, like, why aren't you changing your thinking? Most of the world doesn't have what they want in life, and they're not changing their way of thinking either, and they're failing. Like, for all intents and purposes, if you don't like who you are, where you are, what your life is living, then you're kind of failing. No, it's no big deal. We all fail. You can just start fresh where you are. So it's not that big of a deal. My point is you're not getting positive feedback from others, the material world, and you're not changing your thinking. So why judge somebody who is getting all these external accolades and they're not changing their thinking? Don't you think it would be harder for somebody to change their thinking who is getting a pat on the back every day for the way they think than it would be for somebody who's not getting what they want out of life? Changing our way of thinking is just difficult unless we focus on it. And this is what I'm hoping that we're going to do. So if we focus on serving others as our why, and then our what is, what do we enjoy doing? I enjoy walking dogs. Okay, well, maybe that's a clue. Maybe you should start a dog walking business. Mobile grooming business. I don't know. I enjoy music. Okay, look into music. Like, and I think we have to get creative. Like, I've always enjoyed sports, so I use sports as an example sometimes. Like, if people like sports, like me, I think I was a good example. Like, if I were if I were to start over when I was younger and I didn't take the path that I was on, like, let's say I was younger and I was good enough at sports to start on my teams and maybe be a captain on a low level thing, but like, I wasn't that great of an athlete, and I worked really, really, really hard to get to as good as I was, but I wasn't that great of an athlete. So I was never going to make it to the professional level. But what I could have done is I could have taken that path into sports, and I could have been somebody that films the games, video or taking pictures with camera. I could have maybe become a coach. I could have been like, all the different things that go into sports, reffing, I tried that. I couldn't do that. But like, well, I tried coaching too later on in life. But like my point is that we got to look outside the box. If you like sports, then look at sports journalism. Like there's if you take into consideration everything that is involved in the sports industry, clothing, it's just endless. It's endless what the things that are involved in the sporting goods and sports industry, sporting goods. Like, there's all kinds of things. So you can get careers in a field that brings you joy like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be the athlete. It can be supporting the athletes. It can be, all kinds of things. So broaden that mind and just start with what brings you joy. I like music. Like, I seem to like music more than most. Like, I really like music. Like, I can't go a day without music. Oh, okay. Well, then look into music. I don't know. Maybe you can be a music teacher. Maybe you can teach other kids. Maybe you can create a philanthropic opportunity for inner city schools to get music equipment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, expand your mind to try to find your what, but make it playful energy. When you're doing this type of work, it needs to be playful. It needs to be joyful. And some of you have heard of Bashar, and he's got some interesting stuff out there. And one of the things he has out there, I'll just read it. It says the formula addresses how to navigate physical reality and consists of 3 parts. Take action on your greatest excitement or passion. Act on that excitement to the best of your ability, and act on that excitement with zero insistence on a specific outcome. That's how we live our life. And you can do it in little areas like this little school over here. How I started with that is I started doing a Christmas party. I'm like, hey, what are the, go talk to the teacher. Like, oh, could we bring some food for the kids to have a nice Christmas party? Oh my goodness, yes. Like something like that. That's where it started. And then it turned into getting them presents, and then it turned into the bathroom for them. And then, it's who knows what it's going to turn into next. So it's just the little things. It doesn't have to be like, you don't even have to start a new career. You just start doing what brings you joy and serves other people, and you lose time doing in just little areas. And then if it's meant to be, it starts blossoming into other things. That's what seemingly is happening here in the DR. I start with a little Christmas party, or actually before that, the teacher said that they needed pens and pencils and paper one time. And that's how it all started. We went and found a store that sold all this stuff, and probably spent $100 and got the whole school all kinds of stuff they needed. Boom. And then came the Christmas party, and then came the bathroom, and then, now what? I'm working on other things. We'll see. But we don't have to start with the end product. Just start, because like if I were just to say, well, no, I want to start a philanthropic business that costs hundreds of millions of dollars, that's going to change the families of for generations to come, and this whole area, then these poor kids wouldn't have had a Christmas party. and they wouldn't have the school supplies that they needed. And I couldn't have gotten them that tablet to use to teach. And they wouldn't have the bathroom. Like allow it to build, man. Allow it to build. So act when it says act on your excitement, act on just the little stuff. So the example that Bashar gives is something like, if you're looking at today, like today, I have few things to do. So I'm like, okay, what do I feel like doing? Well, I could do a podcast. I could email this. I could do this. I could do that. I could do this. Do I feel like doing a podcast? Yeah. Yeah, that feels good. Okay, I'll do that. So I do the podcast. And here we are. Like, it's that simple. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have your life figured out before you find out what's joyful. Find out what's joyful. Like, if you start practicing this in every area of your life, you're going to see it expand. This is how we develop this, because it's in us. It's just dormant. So how do we get back in touch with it and expand on it? Well, we figure out what we want for dinner, not what we have to have, what feels good if we ate it. Oh, that's okay. Now all of a sudden you get a little bit more in touch with your inner self and what you like. Then you can think back about your childhood. What did you like doing? Was there a game you liked to play? Or was there, what? If so, why did you like to play that game? I like to play kick the cans. Why? Because it was with my neighbors and we're all running around and it was exciting and my heart would beat and I was sneaky so I could hide in certain spots and get those cans and free everybody, and then I'd feel like a hero and it was exciting. Okay, well, how can I do that in my everyday life? Well, I can find a way to solve a problem and then bring a Christmas party to a school and everybody's happy. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Not yay me. It's never yay me. It's yay, we did it. Yay, we accomplished this. That's what's joyful. It's never yay me. Yay me doesn't mean crap. Yay we means everything. That's the enjoyable part, because you get to share that with the others. You get to see the enjoyment in others. What good is sitting alone? Just, oh, I'm wonderful. It just sounds weird. So I think that's pretty much it. So it's the, our purpose has to be to benefit others and society and the planet, or something that's positive, that's outside of ourselves, that's bigger than us. And then our what, how we fit into that depends on us. It's just what brings us joy, what feels exciting, what we lose time doing. And then figuring out a way to support your why, to support others, to bring this gift that you have. We all have different gifts. You have a particular gift. So how to bring that into this world to help others? Like, what's more fulfilling than that? Nothing. And the stuff will come. We put this stuff on the back burner, and then we go out and we try to make money with our false god, or we try to come to an accomplishment, and then maybe someday we'll have the luxury of being able to follow our heart. Like, no, follow your heart, and then the stuff will come. We have it backwards. Follow your heart first. Enjoy, and then your life becomes this ongoing enjoyment. I just saw airline email that I got running a special, and they're like, you want to escape to warm weather? Well, no, I'm in warm weather, but the word escape caught me, and I was like, isn't that interesting? It's like that's what society preaches, is escape. You want to Go escape your normal life that you hate so you can go experience something fun. It's like, really? Oh my God, that's our outlook? No wonder why most people are unhappy. We're putting all our energy and all our attention and all our time into things that we don't like. And then we have to escape from them so we don't go crazy or go off the deep end. Go off the deep end. I haven't heard that in a while. Like what kind of life is that? Like this is why we're unhappy. Is we spend all our time and our energy creating a life that we don't like, that we needed to escape from. Like, why don't we spend our time and our energy creating a life that we enjoy, and then we don't need to escape from it? So hopefully that helps, peeps. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. So thank you. Thank you for listening, watching, and yeah, I think that'll do it. All right, go and figure out your why and your what. Serve others in some way. That something's got to benefit from your presence here on earth. And your what is just what is special to you. What do you enjoy? So go work on that. Peace.